Masturbation, self-pleasure, solo sex, what's the real deal with it? Is it a healthy expression of desire, or is it secretly wreaking havoc on your sex life? I'm Dr. James, a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist, and today I'm here to unpack this topic in full. We're going to explore the genuine benefits of masturbation and confront some of the most persistent myths I hear from patients every single day. Here's the truth. Over 90% of men and about 75% of women regularly masturbate. So clearly, this is a nearly universal experience, and it's no accident. There's more to masturbation than just momentary pleasure. People often report feeling calmer, sleeping better, and even enjoying sharper mental focus afterward. That's because masturbation triggers the release of powerful feel-good hormones. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and those comforting endorphins that help you unwind and recharge. And beyond the biological boost, masturbation can be an essential way to understand what turns you on and brings you joy. It allows you to explore your own body and learn how to share those insights with your partner, or to simply enjoy pleasure without any outside pressure or performance worries. So let's get real about what's myth and what's fact. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Masturbation, the surprising benefits. Let's be honest, masturbation often carries a cloud of taboo, but it's time to blow away the fog and see it for what it truly is. A natural, deeply personal way to explore and nurture your own body. It's something that nearly everyone does. Over 90% of men and 75% of women have reported masturbating regularly, and yet so many people still carry guilt, shame, or misconceptions about it. At its core, masturbation is a form of self-connection. It's the most intimate act you can share with yourself, and it has a range of benefits that extend far beyond just sexual release. For one, it's a powerful mood booster. When you orgasm, your body releases a surge of feel-good hormones, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins that leave you feeling calmer, happier, and more centered. These aren't just fleeting moments of pleasure, they're chemical reactions that can reset your stress levels, lift you out of anxiety, and ground you in your body. Masturbation also has a profound impact on sleep. How many nights have you lain awake, restless, and unable to switch off? The endorphin rush you get from self-pleasure can soothe your nervous system, helping you drift off into a deeper, more restful sleep. This isn't just a theory. It's something countless people experience every day, but might be too embarrassed to admit. And really, why shouldn't we embrace this as part of a healthy routine? Sleep is essential to mental and physical health. And if masturbation helps you get there, it's worth considering as a natural, accessible sleep aid. But perhaps one of the most overlooked benefits is how masturbation can help you get to know your body better. And that can completely transform your sex life. By taking time alone, free from expectations or performance anxiety, you learn what feels good for you. You discover your own erogenous zones, your sensitivities, your unique rhythm of arousal and orgasm. This self-knowledge isn't just personal, it's something you can share with a partner, opening up a whole new level of intimacy and communication in the bedroom. Think about it. When you know exactly what turns you on and what doesn't, you can confidently communicate that. You become an active participant in your pleasure, not a passive observer. That kind of sexual self-awareness can be incredibly empowering, whether you're single, dating, or in a long-term relationship. It's a way to take ownership of your desires, and in doing so, you often discover that your connection with your partner deepens because you're no longer guessing in the dark. Masturbation is also an opportunity to experience pleasure without the stress of performing for someone else. There's no one else's expectations to meet. It's about tuning into what you want, moment by moment. This can be especially powerful for people who face sexual shame, trauma, or pressure in relationships. In that private space, you're free to explore without judgment, and that freedom can be healing in ways that go beyond just sex. For all these reasons, and more, masturbation isn't just about fleeting pleasure. It's about reclaiming agency over your own body, about learning to prioritize your needs, and about allowing yourself to be fully present in your own skin. When you let go of the stigma and embrace it as a healthy part of self-care, you open the door to a more balanced, confident, and fulfilling sexual life. But of course, like any aspect of sexuality, there are plenty of myths and misinformation out there that can make you second-guess even the most natural instincts. And that brings us to the next point, a myth that's been around forever but absolutely refuses to die. So stay tuned because we're about to bust it wide open. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. The truth about going blind and growing hairy palms. It's almost laughable when you hear it said out loud, but it's a myth that somehow managed to cling on for generations. The idea that masturbation will make you go blind or sprout hair on your palms. It sounds absurd, and yet for many people, these old wives' tales still have a sinister grip, rooted in shame and fear that can warp our sense of what's natural and healthy. But let's be absolutely clear, there is no scientific basis for these claims. None at all. These myths are a product of a time when sexuality was shrouded in secrecy and taboo. Back then, even the hint of sexual pleasure was seen as something dangerous or immoral, a sign of weakness, of moral failing, of being out of control. Religious and cultural beliefs reinforced these anxieties, turning masturbation into a kind of boogeyman that would supposedly rob you of your health, your vision, even your soul. But here's the truth. If 90% of men and 75% of women are engaging in masturbation, and yet the world is not full of blind people with furry palms, clearly this is nothing more than a holdover from an era of misinformation and shame. In fact, rather than causing harm, masturbation is a normal part of human development and an expression of sexuality that's present from early adolescence through old age. It's a safe, natural outlet that doesn't cause any physical damage, certainly nothing like blindness or sudden werewolf-like transformations. These stories were meant to scare people away from their own bodies, to make them feel that sexual exploration was dirty or even dangerous. And the sad truth is that these fears still echo in the minds of many people today, causing feelings of guilt and confusion that can last a lifetime. What's important to understand is that these myths aren't harmless. They can create a deep sense of conflict within us, a push-pull between natural curiosity and the heavy weight of shame. When you're taught that something as normal as self-pleasure will literally damage your body, it plants seeds of anxiety that can blossom into bigger issues. Sexual dysfunction, trouble communicating your desires, even depression and low self-esteem. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're real struggles that I see in patients every day. So how do you let go of these fears? The first step is understanding that these myths are just that, myths. There's no medical evidence, no scientific studies, nothing that says masturbation damages your eyes or turns your hands into something out of a horror movie. On the contrary, as we discussed earlier, masturbation can be an important tool for learning about your body, managing stress, and enjoying pleasure in a safe, self-guided way. By challenging these old superstitions, you free yourself to see masturbation for what it truly is, a natural expression of your own body's desires and needs. It's not about sin or shame, it's about self-acceptance. And that's a message we need now more than ever, in a world where sexual misinformation still thrives in whispers and half-truths. When you stop believing these old lies, you open the door to a healthier, more joyful relationship with your own sexuality. You become empowered to explore, to be curious, and to celebrate the amazing complexity of your body without fear of punishment or harm. But of course, these myths aren't the only ones out there. And some of the most damaging misconceptions aren't about hairy palms at all. They're about whether or not masturbation can actually harm your ability to perform in bed, to connect with a partner, or even to maintain an erection. So let's dig even deeper and see what the science and real-life experience has to say about these concerns. 3. Does masturbation reduce sensitivity? One of the most persistent worries people have about masturbation is whether it might somehow make them less sensitive to pleasure. This question comes up over and over again, often fueled by rumors and half-truths passed down through generations. The fear is that if you masturbate too often or in a certain way, you might end up losing the very spark of sexual enjoyment you're seeking to explore. So let's unpack this idea with honesty and nuance, because the truth is more complex and reassuring than you might think. The idea that masturbation can dull your sensitivity comes from the simple fact that your body learns and adapts. Your nervous system is a finely tuned instrument. It's always taking in signals, strengthening connections that you use frequently, and letting go of those that don't serve you. When you repeatedly stimulate yourself in exactly the same way, whether that's using a certain grip, motion, or device, your body can become habituated to that specific pattern of pleasure. It's like playing the same note over and over on a piano until your fingers know exactly where to land, and your ears grow so accustomed to the sound that it stops feeling as magical. This is not about losing sensitivity altogether. It's about your brain and body getting used to one particular stimulus. So when you suddenly try to switch things up, maybe you're with a partner instead of alone, or you're trying a new position, your nervous system might not respond as strongly at first. That's because it's been conditioned to expect something different. This is why some people notice that when they've been using a high-powered vibrator or a very tight grip during masturbation, they might find it harder to reach orgasm with a partner. It's not that your sensitivity has disappeared, it's just that your body needs time to adapt to new sensations. The good news is that this is not a permanent state. Your body is adaptable. Just like you can train yourself to get used to one kind of pleasure, you can also retrain your senses to respond to new kinds. If you notice that masturbation is starting to feel like a rut, or if partnered sex doesn't feel as intense as you'd like, try changing up how you touch yourself. Experiment with different pressures, rhythms, and techniques. Give your nervous system a chance to rediscover the novelty and nuance of sensation. It's about being intentional and curious, not about giving up something that brings you joy. And let's not forget that sensitivity isn't just a physical phenomenon. So much of it is tied up with the mind. Stress, anxiety, shame, these can all create barriers to feeling pleasure. If you're worried about how your masturbation habits might be affecting you, that worry alone can dampen your response to touch. Sometimes the real work is about letting go of guilt and giving yourself permission to feel, rather than constantly measuring whether you're doing it right or too much. At the end of the day, masturbation is a journey of self-discovery. It can reveal so much about your body's incredible capacity for pleasure and adaptability. Rather than seeing it as a threat to your sensitivity, see it as an opportunity to get to know yourself better and to share that knowledge with a partner if and when you choose. Now, with all this in mind, you might be wondering, can you actually masturbate too much? Is there a point where healthy exploration turns into something that holds you back? That's the next big question we're going to tackle, and the answer might surprise you. Let's dive in. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Can you masturbate too much? Fact or fiction? It's a question that sits heavy in the back of many people's minds. Can you actually masturbate too much? It's a fear that taps into the deeper anxieties we all carry. About control, about addiction, about the line between healthy self-exploration and harmful excess. And like so much about sexuality, the answer isn't as black and white as you might hope. But here's the thing. It's worth taking a closer look, because the truth might bring you a lot of relief and a lot more clarity. For most people, masturbation is a normal, healthy part of life. It can be a stress reliever, a mood booster, a gentle form of self-care that reminds you to stay in touch with your own body. In fact, even daily masturbation isn't necessarily a problem. If you're enjoying it, if it helps you unwind, if it doesn't interfere with the things you value, your work, your relationships, your hobbies and passions, then it's likely just one part of a balanced, fulfilling life. There's no one-size-fits-all number that defines what's too much, because each person's needs and desires are as unique as their fingerprints. But here's where it gets more complicated. When masturbation stops being a choice and starts to feel like a compulsion, that's when it can start to take a toll. If you find yourself skipping out on plans, neglecting your partner, or struggling to focus on daily responsibilities because you feel a constant, overwhelming urge to masturbate, it might be a sign that something deeper is going on. It's not about the number of times, it's about whether you feel in control or whether it's controlling you. And let's be clear, this isn't about moral judgment, it's not about shaming anyone for their desires or how they express them. Sexuality is a fundamental part of who we are, and there's no shame in embracing it. But like any other behavior, whether it's drinking, eating, or exercising, it can slip into unhealthy territory if it's being used to avoid pain, numb out stress, or escape feelings that are too hard to face. When masturbation becomes the only way you cope with life's challenges, it can start to hollow out the parts of life that bring real meaning and connection. The good news? Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward change. If you're worried that masturbation is taking over more of your life than you want it to, it doesn't mean you're broken. It just means it's time to pause, reflect, and maybe get some help. Talking to a therapist, especially someone who specializes in sexual health, can be a powerful way to understand why you're turning to masturbation so often and to find healthier, more fulfilling ways to navigate stress and pleasure. It's also worth noting that for some people, especially men dealing with chronic pelvic pain or tension, masturbation can actually be part of the treatment. In these cases, doctors might recommend masturbating a few times a week as a way to release build-up pressure and relax tense muscles. It's another reminder that what's healthy for one person might be different for another, and there's no single rule that applies to everyone. Masturbation is like any other part of your life. It's about balance, about intention, about making sure it's enhancing your well-being, not taking away from it. And when you can approach it with that kind of self-awareness, it stops being a source of worry and becomes just another way to honor your body and your needs. But even as we break down these ideas, there's another myth that stubbornly refuses to die. The idea that if you masturbate while in a relationship, it means something is wrong between you and your partner. Let's take a closer look at that next, because the truth might surprise you. 5. Masturbating means you have a bad relationship, myth or reality. It's one of the most pervasive myths out there, that if you're in a loving, committed relationship and still find yourself wanting to masturbate, it's some kind of red flag, that it means you're unhappy, disconnected, or missing something in your partner's touch. But let's pause here, because this idea is not only misleading, it's a story that can keep you from fully understanding and embracing your own sexual needs. Masturbation doesn't have to be a substitute for partnered intimacy. It doesn't mean you're cheating or emotionally checked out. In fact, it's often the opposite. Masturbation can coexist with a healthy relationship. It can even support it. When you take time to connect with your own body, to explore your own fantasies and desires, you're actually fueling the well of pleasure and curiosity that you bring back to your partner. It's a way to recharge your sexual energy, to stay in touch with what excites you, and to keep your erotic self alive and vibrant. In truth, masturbation can be a vital form of self-care, even for people in deeply loving relationships. Just like you don't stop taking care of your health, your hobbies, or your dreams when you're with someone, you don't have to stop nurturing your own connection to pleasure. In fact, being able to celebrate your own sexual autonomy can make you a more present and engaged partner. It can free you from the pressure to get all your needs met in one place, a burden that can weigh heavily on even the most connected couples. For many, solo pleasure is a way to relax, to manage stress, or to find comfort in their own skin. And that doesn't diminish what you share with your partner. It can actually take the pressure off your shared experiences, allowing sex to be about mutual exploration rather than performance or expectation. Masturbation can give you the space to feel desire for desire's sake, not just as a response to someone else's wants. That kind of self-reliance can bring a powerful, grounded energy to the bedroom, a confidence that says, "I know who I am and what I need." Of course, it's normal to feel a twinge of insecurity if you learn your partner is masturbating, especially if you've been taught that it means something's lacking in your relationship. But that's where open, honest conversations become so important. Talking about masturbation as a natural, healthy part of life, not as a betrayal or a symptom of dissatisfaction, can actually bring you closer. It can help you see each other not as competitors for attention, but as allies in creating a fulfilling, expansive sexual landscape. And for some couples, masturbation is something they explore together, adding another dimension of play and discovery to their intimacy. But even when it's something you do separately, it doesn't have to feel like a secret wedge between you. It can be a private ritual that complements what you share, another thread in the tapestry of your connection. The idea that masturbation means you're in a bad relationship is a myth that ignores the richness and diversity of human desire. Your relationship isn't measured by how often you touch yourself or how often you reach for your partner. It's measured by how safe, seen, and supported you feel, and that can include room for both shared and solo pleasure. But even as we break down these myths and shine a light on what's real and what's not, there's one final question that still lingers for so many. What about testosterone? Could masturbation be messing with your hormones in ways you don't even realize? Let's dive into that next and see what the science actually says. 6. Masturbation lowers testosterone. Fact or fiction? It's one of those myths that never seems to go away, lurking in the corners of gyms, locker rooms, and late-night conversations. The idea that masturbating is somehow sapping away your testosterone, that every orgasm chips away at your manhood or leaves you weaker, drained, less of yourself. But the truth, once you really understand it, tells a completely different story, one that's far more empowering and rooted in the science of how your body works. Testosterone isn't just a number or a single marker of health. It's a complex hormone that ebbs and flows naturally throughout the day and over your lifespan. And while there are plenty of factors that can affect testosterone levels, things like sleep, stress, exercise, and even diet, masturbation itself isn't one of them. In fact, in the moments leading up to orgasm, your testosterone actually gets a temporary boost. It's your body's way of fueling desire and readiness. But after you climax, those levels return to their natural baseline. Nothing is depleted or permanently changed. This myth likely took root because testosterone is often seen as the ultimate symbol of masculinity and strength. It's tied to so many things: energy, mood, libido, even muscle growth, that it's no wonder men worry about anything that might mess with it. But masturbation isn't the enemy of your hormones. It's simply a natural way for your body to find release and regulate stress, which can actually help your hormonal balance in the long run. Think about it. Stress is a real testosterone killer. When you're wound up, anxious, or stuck in fight or flight mode, your body can't prioritize testosterone production. A healthy sexual release can take the edge off that stress, calming your mind and allowing your hormones to settle back into their natural rhythm. And this isn't just theory. Multiple studies have shown that there's no lasting effect on testosterone levels from masturbation. Some ancient cultures believed that abstaining from sex or self-pleasure could make you more aggressive, more potent, like conserving some mythical life force. But those ideas didn't have the benefit of modern science or an understanding of how complex our bodies really are. Holding back your sexual energy doesn't make you stronger. It often just makes you frustrated, distracted, and disconnected from the natural rhythms of your own desires. Of course, if you find yourself feeling wiped out after sex or self-pleasure, it's important to look at the bigger picture. Are you getting enough rest? Are you nourishing your body and giving it time to recover? Sexual activity uses energy, but it's not energy that depletes you in a harmful way. It's part of a cycle that your body is built to handle, a cycle that, when balanced, can actually help you feel more alive and more in tune with yourself. Letting go of this myth is about more than just setting the record straight. It's about reclaiming your right to experience pleasure without the shadow of fear. It's about trusting that your body is wise and resilient, that it knows how to bounce back and find equilibrium. And it's about refusing to let shame or misinformation steal your sense of confidence and control. So the next time you hear someone say that masturbation is draining your testosterone, remember your body has an incredible capacity to renew itself, to find balance, and to sustain healthy hormone levels through all of life's ups and downs. Masturbation isn't an enemy to your masculinity or your strength. It's a normal, natural part of the story, and one that you get to write for yourself. Now that we've pulled back the curtain on these 6 myths, it's time to wrap it all together and see what it means for a healthy, fulfilling relationship with your own sexuality. So let's bring it all home and talk about what really matters most. Myth 7. Abstaining from masturbation increases testosterone, the real story. It's a story that is echoed through history, whispered by ancient warriors preparing for battle, echoed in modern locker rooms before a big game, repeated by influencers and self-help gurus who promise that withholding sexual release will unlock hidden reserves of power. The idea is seductively simple, that by abstaining from masturbation, you're somehow conserving your testosterone, stockpiling your masculine energy, making yourself more potent, more driven, more of a man. But once we peel back the layers of myth and look squarely at the science, we find a much richer and more liberating truth. Testosterone, that potent symbol of masculine vitality, is indeed a driver of energy, muscle growth, and sexual desire. But it's not a static tank that you can fill or empty at will. Your body is constantly regulating it, balancing production in response to your environment, your lifestyle, and yes, even your stress levels. When you orgasm, whether alone or with a partner, your testosterone levels might surge temporarily, but they always return to a baseline that's determined by your own biology and the bigger picture of your health. There is no saving your testosterone by avoiding sexual release. In fact, some studies suggest that regular sexual activity, including masturbation, may help maintain a healthy hormonal rhythm. Think of it like a dance, not a zero-sum game. Your body isn't weakened by the expression of pleasure. It's designed to thrive when you're in tune with your natural drives. Denying yourself that expression can create frustration, tension, and even more stress. And ironically, stress is one of the biggest culprits in lowering testosterone over the long term. The roots of this myth are deep. Ancient Greek and Roman athletes would reportedly abstain from sex before competitions, believing it would make them more aggressive, more dominant. Even today, some athletes and high achievers cling to this idea, thinking that sexual frustration is some kind of secret weapon that will sharpen their edge. But science tells a different story, that the real edge comes from balance, from understanding that sexual release is part of the body's natural cycles, not something that drains you of your strength. Letting go of this myth isn't about encouraging compulsive sexual behavior or dismissing the value of self-control. It's about recognizing that healthy sexuality is not the enemy of your drive or your focus. In fact, a healthy relationship with your sexuality can support you in every other part of your life, giving you more confidence, more clarity, and a deeper sense of self-acceptance. It's about listening to your body, not waging war against it. It's about honoring your desires without shame and recognizing that you don't need to hold them hostage in order to be strong or successful. Your masculinity, your vitality, your worth. These aren't measured by how long you can hold out, but by how well you can tune into what you need when you need it. The idea that abstaining from masturbation will supercharge your testosterone is just that, an idea, a myth that can weigh you down more than it lifts you up. The real power comes from embracing the complexity of your body and mind and finding your own rhythm that lets you thrive. And as we reach the end of this journey through myths and truths, there's one final piece to explore, the bigger picture that brings it all together. So stay with me, because the real heart of this conversation is about how you can create a healthy, shame-free, and fulfilling relationship with your sexuality, and why that matters more than any number or myth ever could. Embracing pleasure and understanding your body. As we come to the close of this discussion, it's important to remember that masturbation, like any aspect of sexuality, isn't something to be hidden in the shadows or whispered about in shame. It's a natural, universal part of being human, an intimate expression of your relationship with yourself and your own body. And whether you choose to embrace it as a regular practice or only occasionally explore it, there's no single right way to navigate this deeply personal territory. We've seen that masturbation can offer so many benefits, from improving your mood to helping you sleep, from building self-awareness to deepening your connection with your partner. It's an act that taps into the power of pleasure, one of the most basic human instincts, and channels it into a source of comfort, relief, and even growth. In a world that often tells us to feel guilty for wanting pleasure, choosing to honor your own needs is an act of self-respect. And while we've debunked so many of the common myths, from fears of blindness to worries about testosterone, it's also important to remember that everyone's relationship with masturbation is unique. What feels right for one person might feel uncomfortable or overwhelming for another. The key is to listen to your body and your heart, and to honor what you find there. If masturbation feels good, let it be a part of your life without apology. If it brings up feelings of guilt or conflict, know that it's okay to step back, reflect, and seek help if you need it. More than anything, I hope this conversation has reminded you that sexuality is never just about the act itself. It's about how we see ourselves, how we relate to our partners, and how we make peace with our own desires. When you approach masturbation with curiosity instead of judgment, you open up a space for healing, discovery, and deeper self-love. So, as you move forward, hold on to this truth. Your body is yours to know, to honor, and to care for. Masturbation, like any other intimate act, can be a doorway to a richer, more joyful experience of yourself and your world. Be gentle, be curious, and always remember, there's nothing wrong with seeking out pleasure when it's done with self-awareness and care. Thank you for joining me on this journey of understanding and acceptance. And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more ways to honor the unique beauty of your body and your desires. Stay curious, stay kind, and above all, stay connected to yourself.